And for somebody that's listening, that's going through some craziness and just feels like they're in a tough spot and they don't have more things that they want to think about, or I don't want to have to do these certain things. It's a matter of taking the moments when you're okay to be able to work through that, to prep yourself when you're in those moments. Because when you're in the moments, it's game time and you got to be on. You can't allow your emotions to just run you or anything of that sort. So with the people that you work with, Jose, how do you help them through that? Can you kind of walk us through what that process looks like a bit?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, it's a lot of it is putting that game plan in place, and it's recognizing what are some triggers or things that activate me, that, so understanding kind of what are some things that are going to get you riled up. I think one of the big things too is understanding your body. So physiologically, what does it look like when you feel like this is coming on? So like for me, I remember I have high blood pressure. So like for a long time, when I used to get like upset with my kids about like chores or whatever, I would notice I'd feel like it getting hot, like on the back of my neck, and my ears would feel kind of red, and I could start feeling my heartbeat in my neck. And I'm like, all right, I think I got to take, hit a timeout, take a break, walk away. And again, I think one of the biggest things that you mentioned is that when I work with clients, the biggest thing is always safety. So the first thing we talk about is how can we make sure you're safe? So a lot of that is, like you said, it's grounding techniques, breathing techniques, how to bring them back to a baseline, and then it's game planning. So one of the things that is huge in the recovery world, and I'm bringing more of that into like my clinical work, is what they call RAP plans. So it's called a Wellness Recovery Action Plan. So like a wrap you eat, I guess. So WRAP. So one of the things is that you have to make sure you start filling out your RAP plan, which is like, if you ever heard of like advanced directives within like a hospital setting or something like that, now they're starting to ask people when they come in the ER, do you have an advanced directive or a RAP plan? Because it's something you work on when you're well, that you can give to someone. So let's just say you're incapacitated, whether you're nonverbal or whatever, you can give that to someone and they can open it and understand your name, what are things that help, who are people to contact. You can even go so far as to put your doctors in there and their numbers, medications you're on. You can look up RAP plans online. There's tons of templates that are very thorough. But one of the best things is how to help, what not to do. So I think a big thing a lot of times that we take for granted as humans is that when we see someone who's let's just say in a crisis, the first thing I do is like put like a kind hand on their shoulder or something, right? And like say it's going to be okay. But the reality is that that could activate someone and make things worse. You know what I mean? But unless you knew that, it's a very simple, common mistake to make. But you don't know what kind of trauma or things that person has experienced. So like what you think is like taking an authoritative kind of voice and saying, hey, get up, come on, like picking the person up and trying to talk to them, that could backfire and escalate. So it's a lot of times it's, again, treatment planning and thinking about what does that look like. So one of the things that also is in a RAP plan is called what are things you have to do every day to make sure you're well? And then what are things you have to do like once a month to make sure you're well? So for some people, they think every day is like, oh, I gotta work out, I gotta eat right. Okay, that's great. But let's go even smaller and be more realistic. Like on mine, it says, get out of bed, get dressed, brush my teeth, like go to work. Like those are the things I have to do every day, because I know that when I'm not doing well and I realize maybe I'm not doing those sort of things, that's a warning flag for people. Like, have I been sleeping in more? Have I been late to work? Have I been showing up disheveled? Those are kind of things you can kind of pick out as red flags. And then what are things I got to do every month? Okay, every month, yeah, maybe go work out, go for a bike ride, go for a walk with my wife and our dog, spend time with my kids. Like those are the things that again, the same thing, go on a date night with my wife. Like those are things that I know I got to do. Go to the movies. I love going to the movies. So like those are things that I would put in there that would help me. And whenever I feel like I'm out of funk and I consult it and look at it, if I sat there and go, wow, those things like I got to do every month, I don't remember the last time I did them. That might be a good indicator. Like, let me go back to it. Let me try and go back into self-care and do the things that I want to do for myself and no one else, to help keep me managed. And that's really kind of the big thing, like you said, is managing your mindset and your emotions, is realizing that while many things may just happen to you that are out of your control, is realizing that you still have a fair amount of control in your life when it comes to, well, what do you do when that happens? How do you react? Or do you not react, right? Like, and then starting that whole process of deconstructing what are things that activate or trigger you, what are things that are pain points in your life, what are things that you want to just do better and improve on. And I think that's a big thing. Like I tell people all the time, like therapy isn't just for when your life is gone to shit and like suddenly you're in crisis. Like therapy can very much be proactive and maintenance work, to where I think everyone has something they could work on, or ways they could just be happier or do better, feel better, and so that's a big thing, is really just understanding what their kind of thing looks like. And the biggest thing that came out of recovery work that is a direct link to clinical work is meeting people where they're at. Is realizing that for some people, therapy might look like us checking in every week to make sure that person bathed that day and they got dressed and they got out of the house and went for a walk. And if that's what it has to look like for 8 months, for then that person to get their first job in years, and suddenly we go from seeing each other twice a week or once a week to once a month, and they're doing awesome, then that's what it has to be. And then you have other people who are on the higher functioning end of things, who maybe, again, it might be something as simple as generalized anxiety or something like that, or just stress about money or like relationship issues. That's fine. Just meeting people where they're at and realizing that everyone's different and everyone's individual cases are very individualistic, and then just realizing that when I meet with someone, the first thing I ask is, what do you want to get out of therapy? What is your point of reaching out to me and coming here today, so that we can, again, as always, game plan and then start with the big thing and work our way backwards and say, how are we going to get there?